Hey everybody, it's Thursday.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And we are excited to be here and talking about, well, I was going to say ice season, but it doesn't feel like the beginning of ice season.
Talking about springtime and then winter again.
We'll see. So I know usually we say, if you guys have ice reports and all that, then put that in the comments, let us know where you're at. But I think the other thing is, maybe let us know how much of your ice melted, because that's a crazy thing that's going on right now. A week and a half ago, we were talking about snow coming down, and then we were talking about all this warming up that happened, and that warming up came with a whole bunch of wind. And so, man, a bunch of the snow that we had, snowpack, is actually even gone. So I don't know what our lakes are going to be like. It looks like the ice floating out farther might have held up more than I thought that it would. But that's one of the most amazing things, is when you have a big melt like this, is it's going to be the shores that degrade so fast. So do not ever just assume that it is good to go out there and like run past or whatever, or, go out early and then think it's going to be the same condition coming back, because that's not the kind of thing that happens when the shores melt fast. So bring your spud bar and all of those other good safety things that we talk about all the time.
Ryan doesn't have to worry about it. Sorry, Ryan. No, we did see some aerials of Bago before the wind came, and I can only imagine it's even worse than the aerials looked. Some of those smaller spots still looked okay. There's a couple spots of water by our house that I was able to drive by and check. My office was shut down today just because we didn't have any power, and there was trees all over the place and power lines all over the place. So, we just I kind of looked around and got some stuff done today, and it's looking good. But I'm guessing probably later next week is probably going to be the safest. So, Steve in your boat. What's the hull of your boat rated for to go through ice? Huh? You better not put a hole in that thing.
But it is an interesting point. I don't have personal experience of what the walleyes are doing right now, but we did get a little bit of hint at some of the panfish action. The funny thing is, I think, I used a pretty small dropper jig. We both had Widowmaker tungsten on, but you had kind of a larger, buggier profile, and I had a very tiny wedgie type bait. And it was funny because Josh seemed to catch way more fish, but I caught the bigger fish. So, it's funny. I had the smaller bait. And sometimes it's kind of the opposite, bigger bait, bigger fish. But this past weekend, it wasn't that. So who knows what all this melting is going to do to those fish.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess I just got a little bit more work to do on the snowmobile. So that's ready for, springtime.
Springtime, yeah. Hopefully we'll see real winter come at some point.
And then, hopefully we can get some actual fishing done.
Ryan is saying there's 13 inches on Red Lake in Minnesota.
That's where everybody's headed, Ryan.
Yeah, that is going to be a great point.
But that would be an awesome trip. We do have some stuff planned. We have some stuff tentatively planned. So, there's a whole bunch of things to come. So we got to get the holidays out of the way first, and then it's time to put the wheels on the old fishing train.
Or something like that. So, I guess if you guys do have fishing reports, ice reports, whatever it is, or just want to chat along, definitely put that in the comments, because we would love to hear all of that.
Yeah.
But with that being said, let's bring in our guest of honor. Ooh,
there you go.
Hannah, welcome to the show.
Hey, Hannah.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, we are so glad to have you here.
Oh, we miss you too.
Oh, it's been so crazy not seeing anyone at ice shows. Oh.
That is a really good point, because I think that is, I was going to say that's one of the places that we met you, but I think, to be honest, we kind of met online. Like, is that a crazy thing to say?
I think we totally met like Ice Junkies or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a nice thing about, kind of these days, is all the different fishing forums out there. But, before we get too far into chatting about things, I guess our first question is, if there is anybody out there who doesn't know you, which seems like quite a few people do, but can you give us a little, tell us about yourself?
Well, my name is Hannah Stonehouse Hudson. I am the crazy woman who moved to Fargo, North Dakota because she wanted to be near better ice conditions. And it was 40 yesterday. So, whatever. Um, so I'm an obsessive ice angler. I'm an outdoor enthusiast. I live for ice fishing. I live to be on the water. I'm a public speaker on grief and moving forward from loss. And I help companies, organizations, basically anyone who wants to get online and tell their story and connect with their clients. That's what I do. Whether it's people who've gone through trauma or it's companies who just have a really cool story. Neptune Rods, for instance, who's not one of my clients, but I adore them. Like just cool people. And, I love the internet because I'm weird, but.
Well, and I think that's kind of why I laughed when I said that I think we met online, maybe because I think of you as a community builder. And that's one of the things that we have so much of. Yeah, on Facebook, is a fishing community out there.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And that's, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. But really, I think lots of strides have been made in very good ways, bringing more people out fishing because of social media. Not just women. That's awesome. And I love that there's more women. But I call them the fishing curious or the ice fishing curious. Just people who think it's really cool, interesting. I was one of those people. And if I would have had social media in my mid-20s, I don't know. I probably still would be doing this crazy stuff. But it makes it more accessible. You do have the groups where people are down on other people asking things, but those are the people usually who are kind of like either they're two things. Either they're too lazy to, go find their own spot, or it's somebody who's burnt out, who's sick of those people. And then they meet in the comments and it's just a beat down. So, it's not always that bad, but it's great. Guys who want to learn to ice fish who didn't grow up doing it, kids who want to get into it, who don't necessarily have an older person who can take them out, or women who've always wanted to do that, but haven't had the opportunity.
Well, and that's actually a really interesting point because with, COVID and all of that, and you hate to always say the C word, but, I think it did really bring people to the outdoors. And I think that is a really unique thing is that there is a lot of people like you're talking, fishing curious, outdoor curious that, they want to kind of dip their toes into these things, but they don't know how. And so these forums do provide a really great way to get information.
Yeah. And it is any of these things, whether it's hunting, fishing, skiing, whatever it is that gets you outside, though we hate COVID, it did create an opportunity, even though I joke that ice fishing is like the most socially distant sport that you can have. You can go outside and whatever, for those of us who like to just stay outside. But outdoor sales are through the roof. They were running out of kayaks and canoes last spring for people. So that's been really, an added bonus. But I think people are finding ways to connect regardless of what's going on.
The other thing about what you were kind of saying there, though, is, you had mentioned, women getting in the outdoors. And I think, they are just one of those groups, though, that, maybe has even been out there for a while, but has just finally had that network to realize, because you don't necessarily go out on the ice and see like 15 women out there, you might see one or two if you're lucky, but that's another thing that's really cool about this online community is to see how many others are out there.
Well, yeah, and that's what's been interesting. So when I started fishing in 2004, it was there was one professional female ice angler, and that was Shelly Holland. And then there was me, and it was the early clam, the ice team was 2005, 2006, and there were two of us. It was me and Shelly Holland, and we were the only ladies really who were part of the industry that I call it. And so, we were just wandering around. And then as social media kind of picked up, all of us who come together as women, first of all, most of us who fish together who are women don't like large groups of women. We're just not into it. Ice fishing is perfect. Fishing is perfect because, you got your space. You can, if there's drama, you can run away. But we had always been the only chicks fishing with these big groups of guys. So it's been interesting just how much it has changed even since we started doing Women on Ice. I think it was 2015 was our first one. And that was mind blowing for people to see these groups of women who knew what they were doing. We weren't just wandering around like, hey, we got pink on, man, and has somebody drill our hole for us. No, that's what she said. Sorry. Family show. Anyway, so we're wandering around, doing our thing. And yeah, I am not an appropriate guest to have on this show.
It's the night bite. It's not like the midday fishing report.
No, exactly. And it's the night bite, literally. Okay, so yeah, so it is changed. You got Women on Ice, which does more of the media events. You had Wisconsin Women Fish, which I didn't mean to do this, but I'm like, look, everyone, I have an award. But that was not on purpose. So let's see. You got Women Anglers in Minnesota. You have Ontario. There's groups in California that I'm learning about just because I have a friend out there who's from the Midwest, who's looking for women to fish with. So we're around, and it's all different types of, abilities, disabilities. We're getting out there and we're fishing and teaching each other how different species. So that's been really cool.
Well, and speaking of out west, there's another really cool group you should talk to, Bobby and Robin Schindler.
Okay.
They run the Western Ice Fishing Association Facebook group, and they just moved to Washington, but they're kind of on the border of Idaho and Washington, and they fish Lake Cascade a lot, and they do a lot of fishing just in general around Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and they have a really cool group out there, and Robin's really awesome. Well, Bobby's awesome too, but Robin's a firecracker.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah, I've always had, like when I moved to Fargo, my goal was to fish all all 50 states. That kind of took a back burner to some health stuff, but yeah, I really want to do that. So that sounds fantastic.
That's actually really funny that you bring that up because I wish I remember who we were talking with. The extreme crappie angler.
Yeah.
Carl Kalanka, actually. He's a really awesome guy, but he was talking about all the different places that he fishes and, sometimes even preferring open water. And it made me wonder how many of the different states you could ice fish in.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know you can technically try and figure it out in Hawaii just because some of, they do have areas where ices up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be interesting if I could figure out some, you'd have to have some super, it would be a minnow this big. It would probably be a tadpole. Wouldn't really be able to figure out what it was. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool. Do you know, we know a lot about Midwest crappie fishing. The best crappie fishing I've ever been on was in Maine. I caught 17 and a half inch black crappie, and there were people 19, 20 inch crappies, and they eat all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, put that back.
Oh my gosh. It's actually funny that you say that because when you were talking about, different women organization and stuff, and I believe it's Women Anglers in Minnesota. I think WAM is their kind of acronym. But they always do this. It's like a winter, the Ice Queen. I always mess up the name and I always apologize because I bring this up all the time. But they have this virtual ice fishing tournament hosted by Fish Donkey, which is really cool. And my goal for the past few years has always been to come in the top 20. And the first year there was, I don't know, 100 women that signed up or something. I mean, it was probably more than that. Then the second year it was 200 or way more, and then now we're at the point where there's over 1,000 women for sure. And probably more than that. I haven't checked in a while, but it's
it's crazy.
Top 20 is getting harder to to just sneak into. But I do find myself really frustrated with all those women out east because I never realized Pennsylvania, those women are registering fish you've never seen. Well, no, you have seen, what you're describing.
Well, they're ginormous. I was looking at it going, wait, what? No, that's
Yeah.
not possible. Well, and now I live in like Otter Tail Lakes country area.
Yeah.
We're building a place around there, and then I'm in Fargo. And so you know, I'm learning about crappies, panfish, that kind of thing. I mean, I fished for some crappies up north in Wisconsin, but wow, there's some slops out there. So yeah.
Okay, so not to go back to Maine, but here's a question.
Yeah.
Were you there ice fishing or open water?
Open water.
Okay, because that's what I was gonna say is like I kind of want to go to Maine and like catch some crappies, but then also eat some lobsters. Like, do those seasons line up?
We can make it happen.
Yeah.
Because the lake I'm talking about is like not far from Portland.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, awesome!
I have the waypoints.
That's really awesome. Not every day do you hear people like so excited for a trip to the East Coast for crappies. But one of these days, people are going to catch on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there are fish, I will go there.
Yeah, that is for sure.
Yes.
So one of the other things that I was actually dying to ask you about, and so this is totally a different topic, and honestly, not even ice fishing. But I do, I do kind of follow you on social media, and one of the things that I saw you kind of get into in the summer or fall, is some fly fishing.
Yes. That is my favorite thing. I've been doing that since I was in college. So that is actually, so nobody in my family hunts or fishes. Like, so growing up, we'd canoe, kayak, hike. We were outside, but we didn't do any of the hunting and fishing. My dad did a little bit growing up, and I remember photos of fish from when I was super little, but not anything like that. And so in college, I was like, I want to learn to fly fish. So I went and I learned to fly fish for panfish, and I was just casting around and stuff, and then I would go occasionally for bigger fish, muskie, that kind of thing. And then I was in a bar in Bayfield, Wisconsin in 2004, and Jim Hudson walked up to me, knew I was going to marry him right away, and we started talking. It was like 5 seconds into it. I was like, oh yeah, I love to fly fish for muskie. He's like, what? You like to fish? And I like bought him a boat a month later, like not a cheap boat, but like a smoker craft, a 2004 smoker craft Malentia, 117, 115 Mercury when it first came out. I know way too much about that boat. So he always called me the sponsor, but I didn't fly fish again. Really, and this sounds horrible. Like my parents' wedding gift to me for our wedding was fly fishing for muskie by myself with Wendy Williamson, who is a guide in Hayward. And then Jim got me a 9-weight, which I still have, which is like, you need to catch a sturgeon on that thing. So I may have to start fly fishing for sturgeon. It's insane. But after he passed away, I started fly fishing again. And, I just randomly, I usually, when I travel, since I used to travel so much for speaking and for work, and now I'm starting to do it again. I had 2 things in my vehicle. I had all my short rods. My hair tie just flew.
I like that. I'm okay with that.
Welcome to Hannah's world. So I have my short rods because I'd fish with them year round, especially around docks, because honestly, you can troll with them because you just walk down the dock.
Yeah.
Or you can cast them out, or I'd have my fly rods. So I just would do that all the time. And then it's been really interesting to get into new fish here because I'm from the trout and salmon world. And moving to Fargo and being around Otter Tail Lakes country, it's just different fish. So lots of panfish, lots of more rough fish in the Red River, which if I'm going to be in the Red River, if I have an 8 and a 9 weight, I'm going to go nuts. So it's been really funny. So guys, like catfishing guys, old catfishing guys in their old boats will go by and they're waving at me. They're like, hey, you catch anything? I'm like, yeah, just some like moon eyes and stuff. But I would be catching moon eyes and golden eyes one after another. And I lost something huge, but I was just like, it was just stuck on the bottom and it wasn't a snag. So I was thinking it might be a catfish. So I might have to just keep going. So my goal is to catch a catfish on my 8 weight. We shall see. But I am one of those addicted anglers who will just like, I don't care what fish is in there. If I know there are things in there, I will go after it and I will use every piece of equipment I have. The more unusual, the better. And the more ridiculous, the better. Like, I don't like things that are normal.
Well, I'll tell you what. So one of my most unique fish came out of Fargo, just south of town on the Red River, and it's I caught an albino catfish while I was supposed to be working. I was assisting with some electroshocking stuff for the state.
Yeah.
But we were just there to help load gear, and I was collecting fishing line off of trees, and I found a hook, and then I wrapped it around a soda bottle, and I was just like fishing off the side of the boat while I was working, and I caught like a channel catfish, like an albino one that was like that big. But that's probably my coolest fish. Yeah, we put it back. He was big enough. He's probably still sitting there. Might have been what you lost.
Probably. Womp womp. Now I'm gonna go cry. This is bullshit. Oh, I'm not allowed out into like society. Sorry, but it is the night bite. So
I do love catfishing though, and actually it's funny because that's kind of how Josh and I met. Not really how we met, but you know what we like to do together when we met online, talking about meeting people online. I guess I said I met you online. I met Josh online. Yeah. And so when we were hanging out, we would go catfishing and stuff. And I never had caught a catfish until I met Josh. And then we were like close to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and the Wolf River cuts through. And man, we caught a lot of catfish. And so like to hear that you're out there with fly equipment and like battling catfish, like I'm excited for you.
Yeah, and the looks I get are one of two things. What is wrong with that woman? And hey, what do you got? Yes. So yeah, you should definitely come out. I'm kind of obsessed. We went, Nicole Stone and I went 2 summers ago. We went up off of Grand Forks. And that was awesome because everybody kept telling me they're like salmon or like I was expecting like this crazy fight or something like this. And they just go down in the bottom. They just sit there. They're like lake trout. Like you get them, you could probably ice fish with them with a lake trout rod, and they just sit there. And I'm like, oh, okay. Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Yeah, that's funny. George is checking in saying cheap hot pink fly fishing lures work great for catfish.
Thank you.
I think that's the thing about catfish is that they work either by scent or, I guess I would say a little bit by sight, but I don't think that they're known for their eyesight. And so something super bright like that would catch that. That might just get that reaction bite.
Well, and especially channel catfish, they're pretty predatory. So like on the Red River, you have good flatheads, but you have that's a like a world destination channel catfish system up there. Like I went to college in Crookston, which is over by Grand Forks.
Yeah.
And that's where I cut my teeth on catfishing because I grew up in central Minnesota, a lot of the panfish and walleyes and stuff. And average channels up there like 5 pounds. A medium one is like 10, 15, and then a big one's over 20. And then I move away and I find out that average channel catfish size is supposed to be a pound, 2 pounds. That's average. So up on the Red River, because the Red River flows north. And so that's at the end of the river, it dumps into Lake Winnipeg. And so that's why you get the bigger channels up north is because the river's going the opposite direction than every other river.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cool system. It's really fun to fish. I keep telling you, I have to go fish up there. There's a really cool spot in Crookston that's like a sand beach to go fish on.
I want to do that. It was crazy. So this summer, people were showing, because the Red Lip River was so low, they were fishing for catfish, but they were finding bison skulls and stuff because it was so low.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, it was really cool. It is funny. I keep ending up in these world-class fisheries not knowing that that's where I am necessarily. Like, I'm just going to live in the Apostle Islands for 15 years and like constantly, like, everyone's like, that's my bucket list. I want to see that. I was like, oh, it's Tuesday morning. So I'm totally been spoiled. And I now realize that as I like tromp through the woods trying to like find anything on the Red River. So hey.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I did the other thing when I think of catfish, I think of, something, you mentioned ice junkies earlier. That's
Yeah.
something that I learned from one of the outings that we went with the ice junkies is,
Yeah.
Not on the rivers, but when you can find catfish in the lakes, that they tend to swim with the crappies.
Yeah, in lakes, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so I always learn from them, the crappies and the catfish come together, and I don't know if it's because they're both eating the minnows or what,
Yeah.
but I have yet to find that lake, and I really want to do that.
That's awesome. I wonder if it's like forage or something. I would love to see how they stack up. Fish behavior for me is, I love it. Like, just to see how, because at first when I was fishing a Vexlar in like 2004, 2005, the only way that I could tell what fish was how they actually interacted on the Vexlar. And so that's what I would do. And so now I'm just fascinated by how, you can see them, but also how they work together, like symbiotic, or what are they foraging on? And like you said, the minnows, like what are the catfish going after that the crappies are as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuff's cool.
Yeah. I had never really been interested in all that until we had gotten an AquaView, actually. But then I would drop the camera down and I would see the fish doing things that I didn't expect. Like, I would expect that the fish are just always afraid of the camera. That you drop that down, it's not a natural thing, so they're gonna like run. But sometimes it's totally the opposite, and that you drop that down, and the first thing they do is they come and like bump it. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like, hey, what's up? What you got? You see, like, their shoulders go, hey. And Ryan is wondering if I'm running a Megalive or Panoptic system. No. That's above my pay grade. I only do that when I'm on a show or something and someone has one. I'm one of those, like, okay, I did not use GPS, and like I would print out the Google Maps until like 2014, and I refused to put it. I actually got a car and had it taken out because I was like, I'm gonna get distracted, and I'm like, and now this Panoptics and everything, I'm like, get off my lawn. I'm gonna take my car. So yes, I would love to play with that, but yeah, I'm kind of a geek. You can tell I like have really weird opinions that are very strong.
Well, I mean, there's just pros and cons to everything. And I think sometimes, people look at those newer units as being, well, as if they were the only thing that worked anymore. And Ryan, I'm not accusing you of saying that at all.
Right,
I mean,
totally.
But I think, sometimes that just attention shifts to the newest thing and the excitement that it brings. And, they certainly do find fish. I mean, it really is a different type of unit than anything anything else out there. But I mean, if we go out with our Vexlars, and I'm telling you what, we will catch fish.
Well, I think one of the skills that may get lost, nearsighted. It's not, in the long term, it won't make a difference, but nearsightedly, a lot of anglers are going to lose that sharpness on their ability to read maps as they are and then pick out fish versus just drilling a hole, scanning around, drilling a hole, scanning around. You're going to start to lose attention on the details of why the fish are there. Right. Just that they are there. And if you find them every time, it really is not that big of a deal until you don't have it. Right. Right. Well, and so, so it's just one of those things. Going back to fish behavior though, one of our friends, Clayton Schick, he has a YouTube channel called Clayton Schick Outdoors, and he does a really cool thing where he puts a flasher cam on his flasher and he runs an AquaView. And so he has him in the background, his AquaView in one corner, his flasher cam in the other corner. So you can actually watch the fish and the camera and him all in real time.
Cool.
And so it's really cool to watch how he fishes a lot of walleyes and a lot of lake trout. And so you can see how those fish interact with his baits. And it is really interesting. Like I just mentioned to Emily the other day, like how long it actually takes an angler to set the hook. Like he fishes all the time. And so like, you know, I expect me to be a little bit late because I'm not like every day on top of it, but he is. And it's still like almost a full second. Like you see the fish eat it and then it starts to move and then he sets the hook and it's not like that's how long it takes for him to feel it. So it's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, that's why I have a lot of cold brew on the ice. I just get like shaky. No, it's for me like a Panoptix is awesome. I would get distracted because I love watching fish. So I would it's almost like I wouldn't be actually like fishing. So that's why I really do like the basics of things, whether I have my Vexler and I'm looking at fish behavior or looking at structure. And like, so I have that in the back of my head. If the fish are, you know, not biting, if they're negative, if they're like whatever it is, at least I can, you know, go back to basics, I guess. But really, I'd get distracted by a Panoptix and I'd never leave.
You'd never leave. Yeah,
I'd never leave. That's Aqua View is a problem for me. I love them, but I'm just like, oh, that's so fun. That's why, like, I was at the orthopedics the other day, and there was a whole tank of fish. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can sneak my Neptune in here. And they would totally like, they would think it's funny because it's me, and all I talk about is ice fishing during my appointments. So
that's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's really funny. Oh my gosh. So I guess you were talking about where you are, that it was like 40 degrees there yesterday. Have you guys had ice yet?
Yeah, so I was out a couple weeks ago with my friend Cody out in Otter Tail Lakes country, like Becker County area, Minnesota. We were in 4 or 5 inches. We were with our friend Haley, who's watching right now. And we were catching a ton of panfish, crappie, that kind of thing. So, I mean, we've had consistent ice in certain areas, but I don't know what happened last night with all the wind and how warm it is. What is super funny, and I didn't realize when I moved to Fargo that this is what happens is, though this is a little unusual at 40, it is like, I'm used to Bayfield, where it's winter from October, November until late May. Here, it's winter from like mid-November to April. And then it's so different. So, yeah, I've had to leave here like 45 minutes to go find ice. I was going to go head up to Devil's Lake possibly and fish. And I know they have ice. I don't know what happened last night with the storm, but it's a little different than I'm used to. And the bowl that is the Red River Valley sort of keeps things a little either really, really cold or warm. And it's been pretty warm here for a bit, except for today where it was 7 degrees. Which
I'm kind of unfortunately warm here too.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. Yeah. Josh and I were talking recently about when we were little, and even I was down in Illinois, but I thought I remember winter starting, I don't know, way sooner. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you always remember the bad ones and the extremes, right? So it's, you remember the really huge snowfalls and then the really warms and then all the in-betweens, you all just kind of mesh together. So it's like, oh, it seems like it was a lot colder. And, we probably did have a few more days of cold, but we also had, we were just breaking a record from 98.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, it wasn't, or 2004 or something. So it wasn't like, it wasn't that long ago that we had a
hill both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot you guys you're from Illinois too. I was born in Illinois, but I don't tell everyone that. I was a Bears fan for a really long time. And then I went to Wisconsin, and I am still a Cubs fan because that's like genetic. And I would be disowned by my father. However, I would have gotten kicked out of the city of Bayfield if I wasn't eventually a Packer fan.
Fair enough. As long as you're a Cubs fan, you pass.
Right, totally. Like it doesn't matter in our family as long as you're a Cubs fan.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and that's
awesome.
the great thing about living in the Dakotas. They're neutral states, so you
Yeah.
can be whatever you want.
Except poor Sam is a Vikings fan.
Oh,
Go Cubs. Oh, and Jason Goodlet, who is from Bayfield as well, is like, yep, she's right. He lived down the street from me for a while. Very long time. Yes. A Cubs fan.
Oh,
Go White
no.
Sox.
Ryan,
Wow.
Ryan, I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
Oh no, this is the end of it.
Well,
Ryan.
my grandpa, my mom's parents are from the south side of Chicago, and my grandpa told my dad he would only allow them to get married if my father promised any children they had, their first baseball game had to be at Comiskey. And it was. And that was, I think, the only White Sox game.
Well, and my whole family being Cubs fans, I have a younger brother named Frank Thomas. So.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so there's that. That's fun. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the other things though that I was going to ask you about, kind of switching back to ice fishing a little bit, you had mentioned a few times the Neptune ice rods, and those are people that we love running into shows as well. So for people at home, maybe if they don't know about them, can you maybe describe them a little bit?
Yes. Okay. I love them for two reasons. One, when I was working at the Wisconsin Fishing Expo a couple of years, like 4 or 5 years ago, I think, they were some of my favorite people to visit. And then when I go to the St. Paul show, I was always excited to see them. So first of all, they're just freaking awesome people. Secondly, so I deal with a lot of chronic illness stuff. Arthritis, Lyme disease, some other very exciting things. And so their handle for me is really, really awesome. And people look at it and they're like, that's just kind of weird. But for me, it is just fantastic in terms of just wear on my joints and that kind of thing. And just being able to set the hook, even if I hadn't had a whole lot of cold brew. But I just like everything that's set up. I'm really excited to try out their new reels because I haven't tried them out yet. And I mean, I am a reel junkie. Most of them are laying everywhere going, take me fishing. But yeah, I as a company, they're phenomenal. And I can't say, I'm not just saying that, just I really see, I may live in Fargo now, but the cool companies that are started in Wisconsin just are amazing, and small businesses where it's at. And to see these companies keep going and just the social media community just, rallying around and helping these small family run and owned businesses keep going. That's awesome. And then just they make a really, really great product.
Ray's checking in saying go Wisconsin. And when you said that they're a Wisconsin company, I always think of them as Minnesota for some reason. So sorry, guys.
Oh,
But either way, Midwest local, that's always a good thing.
Yeah. Anything Midwest.
Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the things was we were going around and talking to a lot of vendors, catching up, and in years past we were trying. We didn't really know a lot of the vendors personally.
Yeah.
So over the last few years, we've gotten to know them personally and interacted outside of the whole show season. So when we got to see them in person again, we get to talk a little bit more personally since we've gotten to know them. And it was amazing the amount of vendors that we just found out were all from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And grabbing some business cards, and it's like, oh, this one's from Wisconsin, this one. And it's stuff that's been around, since I was little, that I never knew came from Wisconsin, but it's like a huge brand over in Minnesota or something, so it's kind of crazy. Yeah.
You got Acme, Stryker is in Hudson,
Mm-hmm.
DSG is down in Madison now. Beaver Dam Tip-Ups, Acme, I think I said, like there's just all these really cool ones that are just there. So Mercury is there. I mean, got all kinds of cool stuff. I love it. And, can you see Oh God, I hate this one. So on Wisconsin, I'm a Badger. But also the UW women's volleyball team is playing, and my goddaughter is their like little girl who goes and surprises them. They just did a bit article about her in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. So I'm hoping to take her ice fishing for the first time this winter down in Madison. So I'll be down there in February, hoping to get her out on Mendota. Yeah. First time for her and her brother.
When is that?
I'll be down in Madison like February 9th, around there. I'm going to have a workshop, and then I want to get a bunch of people together and go ice fishing. So maybe get some kids who've never been, just some people who've never been and really want to try it out. So
that'd be awesome.
You know who you should contact down in that area is Pat Calmerton.
Heck yeah. I love Pat. Pat's on my list.
He's doing a really awesome, like, take the kids outdoors. What is his Facebook
group
page? Pat, I'm sorry that I don't remember the exact words of it. Take them outdoors. Shoot.
Yeah,
Pat, I love you and your kids group, and I wish I remembered what it was called.
Yeah, I need to. Sorry, Pat. I need to talk to him about that because I really, really want to get these kids who really want to be out doing it, who might have parents who've never done it before, and they are scared. They're worried about safety or any of these things. Like, find these people and take them out and really have them enjoy it. It's the future of the industry. It's the future of, conservation efforts. It's the future of water quality. I mean, all these things go. I know as I sound like very positive Patty about it, but I do want to get people out. And there's people like you, there's people like Pat, all of these companies who want to get people out and will get them out safely. And I'm supposed to go to the Battle on Bago, apparently.
Yeah, that is a fun one. But
I've never been. So.
Take them kids outdoors.
Yes, take them kids outdoors.
That's what it is. That's what it is. So sorry I butchered that at first, Pat, but I love you enough to look that up mid-show.
Yeah, so keep us in the loop. That would be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
We would come down for that for sure because we love coming down there. I know I could probably get John Lemmer to come over with some plastics for the kids.
Awesome.
But that's actually Mendota has been on kind of our hit list. Not so much, they catch some great perch down there. We fished down there a couple times. We want to get down there for catfish. And the last couple of years has been kind of crazy for it, but we know that they tip up fish for catfish down there. And
what?
Yeah, and there's some big ones.
What do they fish for them with? What is smelly enough? Come on.
I think it's just cut bait, honestly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And when
it's kind of like lake trout.
Yeah. So like when you were catching all those golden eyes and moon eyes and stuff, that's what I used in Crookston for all of our catfish, was cut those up.
People couldn't believe that I threw them back. No. Some old guy came up to me. He's like, "Can I have those? You've been killing me." On the back. I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool." It was pretty funny.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, the battle is fun. I don't know. You lived in Milwaukee for a while, so I don't know if you've ever hit the battle, but that's a really fun time.
Yeah.
You'd think it'd be kind of like the Pout Festival on Leech Lake.
Yeah.
But those guys have it organized really well. We
so
went
there's
last
not
year
trash
and
everywhere.
They clean up pretty good.
Okay.
There's a lot of the guides are in on it. I know that Sink Dive like recovery service helps with plowing roads and doing stuff.
The aftermath.
Well, so they're really cool. That recovery service is really cool just because Winnebago is kind of weird. So it's not like it's kind of like Mille Lacs if Mille Lacs had a big river running through it. And
I was wondering about the current in there because it seems like when I looked at the maps. Yeah,
so it's kind of weird, and so ice can be kind of fluctuating around there, and so they do quite a few recoveries, unfortunately, just of vehicles mostly, and a lot of it is in shallower water, maybe just over the top of the roof of a car.
Yeah.
But they do a lot of the plowing of the roads. They do all kinds of stuff down there.
Otter Street Fishing Club
Yep,
is
they
one
do
of the
that
ones
too.
that work with the sunk fishing dive guys.
Mhm.
But they do a lot with like how when there's different sheets of ice and they're shifting around, and when they have to redirect roads and how they mark them with trees. So I know that Christmas is coming up and everyone is decorating and loving their tree. But it's amazing how fast everyone wants to get rid of them after Christmas. But remember that there are people who are going to actually want those. So if you can donate those to like a local fishing club to help with different, sometimes they put them in the lakes for fishing structure, but honestly, just to guide the roads and across the different bridges, that is super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we do in Bayfield for the ice road. So everyone in town just takes their Christmas trees. I almost called them fishing trees. Anyways, and there's this road that just goes, it's a huge hill. So everyone just drags their trees and it's just a big pile. And then if the ice road blows out, like you'll be watching just an iceberg go by with a tree sticking out. Yes, it's pretty cool. It's pretty funny.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. So, we were able to talk about so many awesome things here tonight. But I know that you probably have a whole bunch of awesome adventures coming up this winter. So if people want to follow along and hear more about that, how can they follow you?
I am obviously all over Facebook. So if you go, you can do facebook.com/Hannah Stonehouse Hudson. You can just put my name in there. I'm around. I'm there. I have website is timegracespace.com. And then I talk to a lot of people about just getting through life, resilience, getting through death, cancer, all of these very I have a really good sense of humor to help people get through really difficult things. So it's not depressing. It's how we get through life and how we are resilient. And then this winter, I'm going to be doing a couple different ice fishing trips. Like we talked about the one, it possibly in Madison. It's not really a formal thing, but I'll be down there. January 15th, there's Fish and Chicks, which is in Iron River, Wisconsin, and I'm going to be helping host that. And that's breast cancer fundraiser, which is ironic because it's been going on for 10 years and new people took it over. And I never got a chance to fish it when I was there. And now I'm going to be helping out with that. It's a fundraiser for Essentia Health. And I'm going to be helping out as a breast cancer patient. So it's very interesting. And it's really cool. And then Sam, who's upstairs corralling our canines, who would be crawling on top of my computer. We're going to be on Devil's Lake doing a Patriot Fest, which is for veterans of all types. It's a fundraiser. And then I'm hoping to go to Rapid City, South Dakota for Hooked on Hardwater at the end of February to be helping with Boys Club of Rapid City, South Dakota. So my thing is, I just want more people fishing. I want more people to get out there regardless of ability, regardless of equipment. I don't care. I just want people fishing, because it's helped me heal, it's helped other people heal. And I don't mean just physically, mentally, all of those things. And it's really important. And I will do everything I can to get people out on the water. So, yeah.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
That's why I love you two. I love how
yeah, I was going to say, that's why we love you.
This is why I am so proud of the two of you. I know we're like, you two have just done such incredible work getting content out there, bringing people together, doing quality stuff, interviewing new companies. It's freaking phenomenal and I love it. So thank you for what you do for the industry. So.
Well, thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And thanks for being here tonight.
You're welcome. I love it. It's fantastic. And, I had a little caffeine, so now I'm calmed down and I'm not throwing my hair ties everywhere.
So. That's awesome. So to also the people at home, I guess, thank you for you guys for being here as well. Because that is always really a great part of all of these conversations and, hearing all the different input that everyone has. But otherwise, I think we are looking forward to seeing you guys out on the ice and looking forward to seeing you on next week's edition of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.